after a 4 year wait, Euphoria finally returned for its third and apparently final season, bringing one of HBO's most talked about dramas to an emotional, deeply divisive conclusion. And the weird part about this finale was that Sam Levinson didn't even really confirm that it was the final season until the episode aired the next day. Like it was like the episode aired that Sunday. And I feel like that Monday it was just kind of like, oh yeah, that was the last episode of the show, so the show's over. And it apparently had always intended for season three to be the end of Rue Bennett's story, and it kind of brought the show's everything pretty much to a close. But I don't think it was handled really well. Like I don't know, I feel like season three didn't really feel like a final season of a show, or even the final season of this said show, given everything that was going on. And I remember just being really annoyed going through the show because I'm like, this just feels like it's going nowhere. And if I had to just go down the line, season three of Euphoria is easily the worst season of the show because season two is crazy good. And season one is also really good. I was hoping for season three to just be a lot more of what the first two seasons were. Now that they were adults, they could pretty much not worry about any parental interference and things like that, which the show pretty much got rid of immediately. But I just don't like the way things were handled. I felt like the way, like, especially the way Nate goes. Nate pissed me off this whole season because I was just like, bruh, you are such a wuss. You are such a wuss. You was a wuss secretly this whole time. Like you couldn't not. I thought he was going to get a sequence where he gets some redemption and he gets to make up for all the times he was being a nut. But no, man, he doesn't get any of that. He just goes out sad the whole show. And I think the other thing I kind of hated was like the weird trajectory for Cassie, even though I guess it kind of made sense. Like Sydney Sweeney does a great job the whole season, but I don't like the trajectory. And then the only character that I was really happy about was Maddie, because Rue was going out that way regardless. Maddie actually had a chance, and I also love what they did with shoot, uh, Cassie's friend, Cassie's sister. I can't remember her name right now, but I really loved that too. Maud Apatow does a great job. It was just so many things about the season. I was like, this doesn't feel like this is going to be the last season, but somehow I get the feeling that it is the last season, and things are going to come and go as they do. And it just felt like the last season wasn't really thought out. But I'll get into it. So here it is. You know, it's about to me. Season three was really about a story about growing up, or pretty much failing to. And unlike the first two seasons, were centered on teenagers navigating high school, season three introduces like a significant time jump. So I think they're about 22, 23 in this season, and the characters are now like young adults trying to build lives beyond the hallways of East Highland High School. Rather than focusing on the parties and the relationships and the teenage drama, the season pretty much explores early adulthood, responsibility, some form of addiction. There's crime, there's grief, and the consequences of choices that have followed these characters for a very long time. Really good setup. I just don't think the payoff was there. Maybe that's like my biggest issue. Like I feel like the payoff wasn't particularly there, given these things that the season was supposed to be focusing on. And the tone is somehow darker than the first two seasons. Euphoria is a dark show, and the first two seasons don't hide from that. But this season was somehow darker than the last two. But the neon visuals are nice. The cinematography is beautiful, and emotionally charged soundtrack. And whatever you like, if there's any form of innocence of Euphoria, that's gone. This show just goes full blown into it. Excuse me. I do say Zendaya, going into the performances, Zendaya does do a good job on the show. I think she kind of carries it again. And that's not saying she does it all by herself, but she has probably the best performance out of the teens again. I'm sorry, young adults. And Zendaya, she is the constant throughout the show. She is just incredible in the first season. I think she's even more incredible in season two, and she does a great job here in season three. She just does. She earned those Emmys that she won for the show. Now, if we're going to talk about Rue as a whole, she does continue to be one of TV's just most complicated protagonists, and she is the protagonist of the show. And throughout the season, she battles with addiction again, guilt, grief, and the consequences of past decisions. Once again, everything Rue deals with, she dealt with in the first two seasons. And Zendaya does do a really good job. And it is literally, she is one of the defining actors of her generation. You can say whatever you want about Zendaya. You can hate that she's in everything, but she does a great job this season still. And she has proven that she deserves to be one of the most sought after actresses for roles in Hollywood. It is what it is. And even when the story becomes a little controversial, her performance remains the emotional anchor of the series by far. And I will say that this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler video, because Rue is pretty much kind of having to deal with what she dealt with at the end of season two when she borrowed the drugs and they went missing. And now whatchamacallit is looking for her, and she finds her. She starts working for her, and Alamo picks her up. Rue has an interesting character arc. It seems like she was starting to kind of heal from everything. She found God, started wondering what it really was about, starting to like it, even moving a little bit like it. She kind of tries to relink with Jules. It works a little bit, but then it doesn't. She is noticeably closer with all of her friends from high school. She's closer with Maddie, closer with Cassie, and why can't I not remember what up to his name in the show? So that's all kind of intact and a lot better. She's not high all the time, which is something I enjoyed because I was getting a little uncomfortable. But I get if she was addicted. But and then had my suspicions that Rue was probably not going to survive the season because I didn't think this was going to be the last season. But I was like, if they wanted her to die, they could, and I still think Euphoria could continue. And sadly enough, Rue does die at the end of the season from an overdose, and it is so painful to watch because you think that she's kind of reconciliating or this is something she would like to happen, but all in all, it was just the last dream before she dies, basically. And this is like the saddest thing I've like watched. Like, not the saddest thing I've watched ever, but it's one of the saddest things I've watched recently. And I was just like really sad. And I was like, I kind of wish the whole season was like this, but it wasn't. And it pained me to see Rue go out like that. But there was no other way Rue could go. And that's the sad thing. It seemed like there was no other way out for Rue but for death. And yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow. But again, all in all, Zendaya, you earned your stripes, sis. That's all I can say about that. There's more mature themes in the season, and there's even a lot of death and like blood and shooting and things like that. This season goes full like nonstop, and one of the questions from the first two seasons is like, can these characters survive high school? Can they survive being teens in a wild environment? And the question from season three was, can they survive adulthood? And that's rough. And it seems like they all end up in their own little situations beforehand. I mean, Cassie pretty much goes on to OnlyFans, which annoyed the hell out of me because I was just like, dang, I knew it was coming, but I figured Cassie would have tried something else. But I'm like, this is Cassie we're talking about. And then she ends up on OnlyFans. She ends up going through the process of trying to get OnlyFans famous and get a bunch of subscribers and followers. And it does work because she looks like Sydney Sweeney. And also because it's a show and it needs to work out. Maddie is trying to be the best manager she can possibly be, and she does a damn good job of it. Alexa Demi, you are a gem. Maddie goes through some really interesting things, but nothing quite as memorable. But I did still love Maddie this season. And I think I said Nate went out like a straight punk. Nate Jacobs also dies, by the way. And it's probably the most unfortunate way to go out. And I think it kind of blows that he just dies with no chance of redemption. I mean, Nate Jacobs is a terrible character. He's just a terrible jerk. He's a douchebag, whatever you want to call him. But he just dies so like I really wish there was like a way he could have gone out swinging or kicking or whatever before he actually dies, and he doesn't. He actually just doesn't die like the way I would have liked him to, because it's just like, bro, why are you such a wuss? I didn't realize you were that much of a wuss, bro. Really did not. So that was annoying. That was an annoying watch. Multiple times watching him get destroyed by that Albanian dude. And then the thing that really pisses me off the most is that they find his body. They find his body. They don't harp on the fact that Nate is dead. They don't tell anyone that he's dead from what it seems like. They just hide his body and they go along with their business. I'm like, okay, that can't be really the end of Nate's story, but apparently it is. He goes out owing money and not being able to pay back, so he gets beat up a few times. I will say the first time Nate gets beat up is one of the coolest looking scenes in the series, because they shoot it like this Coen's brother style where she's getting the crap beat out of him, but she's crying, but it's kind of funny. And she's got like blood coming down her nose. Sydney Sweeney's so great in that scene, by the way. And it just ends on this real violent note where Nate's toe gets cut off, and you're like, oh god, but it's cool because I like stuff like that. So I told you it's gonna be a little bit of a spoilery one, but I will say the show takes this interesting, divisive direction, and like one of the biggest things surrounding season three was like that dramatic tonal shift. But I don't understand why people are saying the tone shift, because I felt like season one and two were dark as hell as well. Like Euphoria is not a happy show, especially season one. Season one is depressing, but a lot of people say that the intimate character drama and the visual like storytelling in the earlier seasons, this season didn't really have any of that. But I get what they were trying to say, And then like everyone's great. Like I said, if I have to go through this again, everyone puts on a great performance, and it's literally across the board. Everyone does a great job. Everyone does a great job. Now I will say, going into this, I was not expecting my man Coleman Domingo to walk up in the Alamo area and just shoot the place up. Like I was not expecting that. I didn't think my man Akbaji was gonna die. I also thought the way whatchamacallit died was crazy. She just kind of hangs herself so she don't go to jail. I do really like the character Angel. I think everyone loved Angel. I think she was kind of like the breakout one appearance character that everyone loved. And the girl who played her, who just does an incredible job. She's an incredible actress. I hope she blows up because she's really good. Other things, I guess I would just say I liked the fact that it was Euphoria and I got another season of the show because I wasn't sure if we were going to get that. But all in all, I think season three is kind of a letdown. Like I just think that for the few really good things that happen in season three, it doesn't feel as strongly consistent as season one or two, and it doesn't feel quite as like grounded. Season three just felt like every crazy thing they could come up with that they couldn't do in the first two seasons, and they did it here. I feel like a lot of stuff just kind of happens, but without diving into it, like the final episode delivered, like it was a bleak ending. It was a very bleak ending, and apparently Sam Livingston really chose to conclude Rue's journey in that way, saying he wanted to portray addiction honestly rather than offering a comfort ending. And honestly, yeah, he did that. He did that in spades because I was like terrified how that goes at the end. And it was nice that he contributed to the last episode to Angus Cloud, and I think it is very very sad that he goes out the way he does. But apparently his death also influenced the season three. I'm sorry, y'all. Season three's emotional direction for what they were going for. And there's a few times where like Fez is mentioned, and I'm like, man, he's just in jail. There's one episode where he like calls Rue, and Rue's like, "Yo, Faz," and they're talking. I'm like, man, you could tell Zendaya was so sad during that scene. You could tell, and it was a beautiful scene. I love the fact they just didn't do anything stupid and recast him or kill his character. They just put him in jail. I mean, for real, like his character really should have been in jail. So it just it is what it is. But it's all solid. But like the end. had proven extremely, it was polarizing, and some viewers praised it emotionally, honestly, and refused to romanticize the addiction, while others felt it abandoned the hope that they had always existed beneath the show's darkness. And I kind of understand that. I kind of understand that a lot of fans would have liked to have seen Varu come out of that abyss on top, but on the other hand, everyone doesn't come out of a abyss like that. And the next main character is going to be. It could have been Cassie, because I feel like Cassie's story could have gone some more, and we could have got a whole season on her whole grief about Nate dying. And I guess they hid his body again and didn't say anything. That's the part that I'm still confused about. Did they tell people? Did they not tell people? It's left very much not in the clear about that. And the ambiguity in that, I don't think there needs to be any. I think we should have got an answer. But all in all, I still think Euphoria is a good show. I just think it went out on like a very weak end. Now, I will say, like, the cinematography worked, the performances worked, the music and the atmosphere still worked, the mature themes worked, the powerful emotional moments. I know some people feel like the time jump didn't really make any sense. I thought it was weird that they were even in high school moving the way they was moving anyway. They was moving wild in high school. Like they were moving like 30-year-old addicts and 30-year-old mattress actresses and stuff like that in like the 10th grade. I was like, this is crazy. Or maybe they were like 17. Even still, they were minors. This is crazy. And something I didn't like was that the show also kind of switched from what the show was. It kind of focused more on the crime side, not so much them and their lively go throughs. And I definitely think the ending's going to divide audiences for a very, very long time. I do think that. I think the ending's going to divide people for a long time. I mean, all in all, Euphoria is a very divisive show anyway. Like, I feel like people who like it really like it. People who don't like it really don't like it. People who are like in the middle, it's like, I'm good with it. You know what I mean? Euphoria's kind of been divisive pretty much its entire existence. So yeah. So I mean, on the closing point, I guess my like 5 years ago, Euphoria kind of redefined what a teen drama could look like. Visuals, performances, it had a fearless exploration of addiction, a lot of mental health involved, and it made it a big HBO show at the time. Like people talked about Euphoria a while before I finally got into it, and I was just like, man, this is actually really good. Now, season three doesn't quite recapture the cultural like phenomenon of the first season, and its darker direction really doesn't work for like everybody, but it did still have the emotional, ambitious attempt at trying to be the show. And then Zendaya just does such a damn good job. Like I wouldn't be surprised if she was nominated for another Emmy for this season, but if she isn't, it's fine. And like whether you view the finale as a devastating masterpiece or like a disappointing conclusion, Euphoria does leave behind a very solid legacy of like modern dramas you can just like watch or compare things to. And on a side note, I did not know Euphoria was produced by A24. And now that I'm thinking about it, looking at the aesthetic and the way it's shot, I'm like, yeah, that's A24. That is indeed A24 all over it. So let's just, go from the fact that A24 ended with a really okay ish ending to a really good show, but also is profiting off of a big movie called Backrooms. So let's just all just say A24 has been having stuff on lock for a while, and that Euphoria kind of goes out. So it's a powerful but deeply divisive final chapter, and I think we should be okay with that. And if you're not okay with it, you can let me know down below. I'm always willing to hear opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you on the next one.